What's going on there, everyone? Well, this week's been just one of those weeks with the impeachment nonsense that just continues to become more and more nonsensical as every day goes by that, Pelosi holds on to the articles of impeachment and refuses to hand them over to the Senate. Like the Constitution demands. But there's a very good opinion piece from the New York Post. And usually I don't like New York Post too much, but I gotta give them credit when credit's due. Pelosi's newest dirty trick, putting Trump's Senate trial on hold. You remember just a couple weeks ago, everyone in the Democratic Party was screaming that we have to stop Trump. We have to stop Trump now. He is the biggest threat, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. Doesn't this move go completely against that notion that this needs to be done quick and we have to get this evil, awful orange man out of office? You would think that this goes completely against that. You would think that. And you would be right for thinking that. Ever since President Trump took office, liberals have bewailed his degradations, real and imagined, of various norms. Trump needs to stop tweeting, they say. He needs to start acting like a dignified leader of the free world ought to act. He needs to cut out the gratuitous attacks on the media and so forth. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Those same norm-exalting Democrats and never-Trump Republicans are now awfully silent as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi makes a mockery of the impeachment process and its century-old norms. Democrats this week fulfilled the longing of their base by making Trump the third American president in history to have formal articles of impeachment against him passed by the House. They knew the process would ultimately go nowhere, and a decisive acquittal in the Senate trial was clearly the foregone conclusion. Which, it should be the foregone conclusion, because I don't know about all y'all, but I sat through every moment of those hearings, and I didn't see a crime, and I was truly trying to find one. I really was. I was trying. I went in and I watched in a very unbiased manner for the first 2 weeks. I was very unbiased. I was letting people say their opinions. I was taking their opinions into consideration. And I came to the conclusion that there's just no crime here. So I don't get it. It's just a bunch of people that don't like the president talking about their feelings. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about how you personally feel about a situation or how you personally feel about a particular person. And that's all we got out of this impeachment trial in the House. It was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. That's why Nancy's holding on to this. She knows that these two articles are the weakest articles she could have possibly put forward. And for the most part are unsubstantiated with facts. It's true. Such a delay would be historically unprecedented. Of course, everything that's gone on in this impeachment has been unprecedented. The law doesn't require Pelosi to deliver the articles of impeachment to the Senate, but politically, her latest reckless stunt makes an already unserious partisan effort look even more patently unserious. The Constitution is silent on how to resolve such an impasse between the House and the Senate. Article 1, Section 1, and I disagree with it being silent. And we'll get to that because I think it's mentioned in here. The Constitution is silent, blah, blah, blah. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5 says the House shall have the sole power of impeachment. Cool. We all know that. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 says that the Senate shall have sole power to try all impeachments. Well, there you go. There you go. It's pretty cut and dry right there. You've done your part in the House, now it moves to the Senate. Why won't you let it move to the Senate? Well, for something that's such just an emergency to have this man removed, I guess it was more important to take a holiday. to get a couple weeks off? If as you say, Miss Pelosi, that and your whole party, that Trump is such an existential threat to our republic that you love to call a democracy, if that is the case, then why are you stalling? Wouldn't you? I mean, come on. It doesn't make any sense. I know y'all are... I assume y'all are smarter than that, but I don't know. From what I've been seeing, that's debatable. In constitutional law, the use of the word soul in each provision bars any actors other than the specified legislative body from establishing its own impeachment-related internal procedures. But the Constitution makes no reference to the scenario now before us, the House passing articles of impeachment but refusing to transmit them to the Senate. Simply put, is a situation that the Constitution's framers didn't envision. Yeah, because it's nonsense. This is completely nonsensical. This is completely nonsensical. I mean, Nancy Pelosi and these Democrats and these progressives in the left wing, they are not in any way smarter than the framers. Trust and believe. I mean, look at what they're doing. When stuff is framed for them, they can't even stay within the framework. They have to go try some unprecedented thing just because the Constitution doesn't generally work out for people that are trying to manipulate something for the negative. It's set up to be more of a positive thing. Some prominent lawyers on the right, such as former Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree, have argued that this is outright unconstitutional for Pelosi to delay transmission. He has suggested that Trump has a constitutional right to see his impeachment proceed to a possible acquittal in the Senate. Agreed. I disagree. As a matter of constitutional construction, it is generally inappropriate to read duties and rights that aren't there in the text. When the constitutional text is silent, we have to turn to hierarchical, that word is going to screw me up, hierarchically lower bodies of law. Here, that means the internal rules governing the House and the Senate. There is nothing whatsoever in the House internal rules that requires the delivery of any particular resolution or bill to the Senate. As for the Senate, Tulane Law School professor Ross Garber, an expert on the impeachment process, I don't know how anybody can be an expert on an impeachment process, considering in most people's generations, at best, you've only seen two. So I don't know how you become an expert, but okay. I get it, people. I get it. Has observed that the Senate process gets triggered only after the formal delivery of articles at the appointment of impeachment managers. And the appointment of impeachment managers. To be sure, the Senate can always change its internal rules, but unless it does so, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell can't begin the trial, which would assuredly acquit Trump. There may be, therefore, be room for Pelosi to try to extract some procedural concessions from McConnell, which is most likely what she's after. But, as far as I'm aware, Mitch McConnell, or Pelosi, I've heard the argument from some Democratic pundits that Pelosi's holding them as leverage. But to be perfectly clear, I don't think she constitutionally can hold anything as leverage because the Senate is the next step. The House is done. They've already finished. I mean, they are done. Finished in the House. They drew up articles of impeachment. It's officially supposed to be handed off to the Senate. And she's refusing to do that. I don't know about that. Thorny legal issues aside, Pelosi's gambit lays bare the brazen hypocrisy of the sanctimonious norm worshippers. Most of Trump's purportedly grievous sins pale in comparison to the destructive and destabilizing nature of Pelosi's transmission's delay, not to mention the unfair and underhanded nature of the proceedings in her own chamber. The president may not have explicit constitutional right to a Senate trial, but if Democrats really cared about the rule of law and good order, they would have allowed the framers' process to unfold as it was supposed to. Their delay tactics merely expose the frivolity of their Trump-induced mass hysteria. Pelosi should deliver the impeachment articles to McConnell without further delay and allow the nation to move on from this episode. If fairness concerns don't bother her, she should remember, two can play at these games, at all these games, the next time there is a Democratic president. Man, I really hope this doesn't become the norm, though. Can you imagine this? Every time there's a different party's president in, we're going to be going through this? I'm sure we won't. I'm sure after Trump is done in, 2024, I'm sure everything will just go back to unfortunate political normal. Which is sad, because, so much has been exposed throughout just this first term of Trump's administration. So much has been exposed. So much little conspiracy things that us right-wingers thought were turned out to be true. Like with the media being a liberal propaganda arm. That's a big one we've been complaining about for a long time, and they exposed it. Clear media bias on all levels has been exposed. I mean, it's so much. The FBI, look at all the stuff that's being exposed through the IG report, and then soon the Durham report. I don't want it to go back to normal. I want a continuation of what's been going on now, where this stuff is coming out. Trump is... It's funny, because Trump is both the most honest and probably one of the biggest accidental liars, in a way. Because he's honest about some of the most, whoa things, yeah, we like Saudi Arabia because they buy our weapons. They spend a lot of money on weapons. And he came out and said that, and for a president to come out and say something like that was shocking, but oh, okay, so this guy, he's really being honest about a lot of things, but he also accidentally lies because, he states his opinions as if they're facts sometimes, which is a bad thing to do. I complain about the left side doing that a lot, so I wish he wouldn't do that, but I think sometimes he genuinely thinks he's right about things, so I can't fault him but so bad. But man, I tell you what, this impeachment process has truly been just a spectacle. Just a political spectacle that I hope we never have to see again, at least in my lifetime. Because this is the saddest thing I've ever seen our country have to go through. A non-bipartisan, or a completely partisan impeachment, in which the Democrats themselves for over a year said, oh, we're going to make sure we have bipartisan support. And I've stated, and I think every right-wing pundit in the world has stated now, that the only bipartisan support was against the articles of impeachment. But, I don't know what Nancy Pelosi's doing. Collectively, I don't think anybody really knows what the heck she's trying to do, other than trying to strong-arm Mitch McConnell into some type of concessions for the Senate trial, which I don't think she even has the legal authority or power to do so. So, I don't know. This whole situation's unprecedented. There is no norms about what's happening right now. So, I just don't know what to tell you. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, I mean, because I'm being fed two different things from constitutional experts. People on the right are saying that, by and large, people on the right are saying that until she hands over the particular articles of impeachment to the Senate, he hasn't even been impeached yet, technically. So it's like, okay. And then I'm hearing, well, he has been impeached regardless whether she hands over the articles, and she doesn't even have to hand over the articles for the Senate to move to the trial or whatever. And it's like, y'all are supposed to be the experts. Y'all are supposed to be the experts giving us this information. Not all of us study impeachment. Seems like nobody has, to be honest with you. But I don't know where we're going from here. We're just going to have to continue to wait and see, unfortunately. But I'd love to hear your comments on this, and as always, like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the flip side.